Well, are you single and tired of the dating scene? You're always a bridesmaid, never a bride, right? Or maybe you're stuck in an unfulfilling relationship. Well, if you're ready to discover the love of your life, then you need to keep watching. Our next guest this morning in today's Empowerment series has done live coaching for stars like Vanessa L. Williams and authored the book, Happiness from the Inside Out, The Art and Science of Fulfillment. Please welcome to the show celebrity life coach and author Robert Mack. Good morning to you, Robert. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, so it's that time of year, you know, love is in the air. Valentine's Day right around the corner. You know, but there are so many people out there who are looking for their soulmate and just can't seem to find that person. They think, are they ever going to show up? How do we begin to find the love of our life?
Yeah, I think the first thing that you have to realize is that the love of your life is something that you don't find. You know, love isn't about finding. It's about extending love. You know, I think it's not. And so the soulmate I think of, at least for myself, is that, you know, is myself. I'm my own soulmate. And so love is something that I think exists within us all. And the real joy of love is extending it, not in finding it. And so if you start from that place, I think you are much more likely to attract somebody that's as loving as well.
So then how do you start loving yourself?
Yeah, I think you begin looking just for positive aspects and things to appreciate about yourself, about your life. I think that's where you start. Look for things that make you feel good. And so, you know, anything in your life that makes you feel good or that you can appreciate is going to make you feel better overall. And as we all know, you know, the happiest relationships consist of two happy people.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So, you know, you want to get as happy as you possibly can. And then from that place of being filled up with pleasure and bliss and well-being, it'll be much easier to extend that pleasure, love, and well-being to others as well.
All right, so I have to get real here for you for a minute. I mean, I hear my girlfriends talk about this all the time. Well, I want my man to have this, and he's got to have that. And they want certain qualities that they themselves may not have. I mean, you know, and I'm sure that you've heard that. So if you want somebody who's organized, you want somebody who's financially stable, but maybe you're not that person, why do we tend to put those qualities on somebody else and a mate when we're not bringing that to the table?
So what a great question. It's so true. I think that the world is a big mirror, you know, and what we are is reflected back to us in the people that we meet on a daily basis, you know. And so the more that you can sort of embody those principles or those characteristics and traits that you want to see in another, the better off you're going to be, and the more likely you are to find people that do embody those traits. And so you're absolutely right. You want to start, you know, you want to be first, you know, be the first to be loving, be the first to be, you know, happy and joyful. And from that place, you're much more likely to attract somebody that mirrors that back to you.
Oh, what great advice. But, you know, here's the other thing that happens with my girlfriends. Girls, I'm sorry to call you out, but this is the truth. They say, okay, I finally got this man. No, I don't want him anymore.
Yeah, it happens, doesn't it?
How does that happen?
Yeah, I think part of it is that, you know, people get into relationships often, and they say this, and of course, it's a huge generalization. But, you know, men get into relationships, and they get into relationships hoping that the woman will never change. And women get into relationships, and they hope that the man will change, right? And so I think that often happens a lot with women. They get into relationships, they're hoping the man will change, and they'll do things to try to facilitate that change.
But why do they do that? Why, if you get into this relationship and you get into this relationship for what you hope are the right reasons, why all of a sudden do you want this person to change? Because this is who you got into the relationship with. It's
interesting. I think a lot of us hold ideas or ideals in our head of what we want. And a lot of those ideals are things that we've sort of developed or dreams that we had since we were little children, right? And those are things that have been sort of cultivated by the media, by TV, by newspapers, by magazines. And so you grow up with these ideas of what a relationship should look like, should feel like. And then when you meet face-to-face with reality, it's often something much different.
Gotcha.
And so you sort of experience this expectation hangover. And so it's something that you have to really come to terms with and grip with, and that is that reality is sometimes much different than your expectations for it, right? And so the more that you can learn to sort of open your eyes and come face-to-face with reality, and then within that reality look for things to appreciate, you're going to have find yourself enjoying much more sort of fruitful and enjoyable relationships.
And so then what about the settling aspect of it? Because a lot of people feel, okay, I found this person, but am I settling? Because I may not be feeling exactly what I think I should be feeling, and maybe that goes back to what you talked about, is that whole fantasy as a child and the fairy tale and the knight in shining armor, and out of that. What can they do to improve on the relationship they have, or say, okay, it's time to kind of cut my losses and get out of this?
What a great question. You know, I think the first thing you have to realize is that, you know, joy is a higher value than love is. And I know that the world, we all celebrate love, and love is an incredible, incredible state. It's not just about a relationship, but love is a state of being that you want to sort of exist in. That's the first thing. So realize that joy is more valuable and more important than love.
Joy more valuable
Absolutely.
than love. Okay.
You know, love is nothing more than the spreading of joy. It's the extension of joy. That's all love really is. And so if you can come from that place, then it's not a question of settling or not. It's a question, am I happy or not? And often whether or not you're happy has more to do with you than it does the other person. Right? Prince Charming can show up, and if you're miserable, you know, then your misery is not going to just be added into, it's going to be multiplied.
And you're not going to see Prince Charming.
Absolutely.
Because you're miserable.
Absolutely.
And speaking of that, what happens if you are in a bad relationship and you just get out of it? You have this bad breakup and you just kind of feel like, you know what, I'm done. I'm never going to go out and look for love again, because it always ends in heartbreak.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to people in terms of going out and giving it another try and finding love again?
I think the first thing to realize is that you're more resilient than you realize, right? I mean, if you look at your life and all the things that have happened in your life, good and bad, it's incredible how great at bouncing back all of us are. I mean, we're incredibly strong, you know, and that's the first thing. The second thing to realize is that, you know, your real purpose on earth it really is to extend love. It's not to find it. I mean, you already exist in a place of love, that you're an incredibly loving being already, and if you can realize that the real joy in love is extending it and sharing the love that you already have, you'll find that whether or not somebody breaks up with you or leaves you or walks away, your purpose doesn't walk away with them, right? And so that, you know, for me, that's what it's all about. It's really not getting into a relationship to get something, right? That's what most of us think. We want to get into a relationship. We're willing to give love as long as we get something back.
As long as you get something back
Absolutely.
from it, yeah.
But if you both have nothing, and you can only give what you have,
right?
You're both left with nothing. So it's like two beggars sort of being in a relationship, both trying to get or give in order to get.
Wow.
So you don't want to do that. You want to give for the joy of giving. I mean, there's nothing more wonderful and more enjoyable than giving love.
And when you give, you receive. And I do want to end it with this, because I know you're out there watching, you're wondering, okay, is Robert found the love of his life? Is he single? All right, so answer now, so I don't have to answer all these emails that are going to come in.
I love it. Absolutely. And that's true for so many reasons. I mean, first and foremost, I think we're all born with our soulmate, you know, and that my soulmate is me, first and foremost, you know, and I believe that, you know, the sort of God exists within me. So that's, you know, really what it's all about, is that I found the soulmate of my life because I never really had lost it, something always inside. And second of all, I do feel like in a more traditional sort of practical way, absolutely, I found, you know, the love of my life. You know, and so, yeah, I'm very, very content that way.
I'm happy to hear that, so don't email me. It's taken. Wonderful.
I still email you, but...
Still email me, but not about Robert. Well, it was a great conversation. I hope you come on again. Wonderful stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure
I appreciate
meeting
it.
you. Absolutely. And if you'd like more information about Robert Mack and finding the love of your life, simply log on to the website. It is happinessfromtheinsideout.com.